Hey, what is going on, guys? It's Moto. In today's video, I am super excited because I am about to take my DRZ400SM for its first ride. So this is a 2021 Suzuki DRZ400SM. It is brand new. I just picked it up from the dealer, and I paid cash for this motorcycle, so I am not financing it, and I could not be happier. I am super excited to take this bike for its first ride, and I'm going to bring you guys along for the ride. So, new tires, new bike, new everything, unfamiliar for me, so I'm going to be taking it easy on today's ride. Man, right away this thing feels surprisingly smooth for a single cylinder thumper. For what it is, this thing is really smooth, and it's also obviously a very light motorcycle, so I'm able to balance it pretty well here going at these slow speeds. So for my break-in period, I believe it's 600 miles on the Suzuki DRZ, so I'm going to be taking it easy. I am going to be trying to do normal riding. I don't want to putt along on this thing, but I also don't want to rev it out, you know, like crazy. So in traffic, this bike feels pretty good. I was a little bit worried because of how tall it is. It is a 35 points, I want to say like 0.8 inch seat height or something. I'll make sure to leave it in the video so you guys can see. But the suspension is relatively soft. So with my 180 pound ass on it, for lack of better terms, it does sag a little bit, this suspension, as soon as I sit down on it. And I'm actually able to flat foot it really well. So as you can tell, I'm 5'9", like I said, 180 pounds, and I'm flat footing it on both sides right now. I think that has a lot to do with my weight on the suspension. Should probably go ahead and adjust these mirrors a little bit. Wow, it's a very nimble and light bike. I just took my hand off the handlebars there for a second, and I could feel it jerking around. So this motorcycle is actually pretty smooth. You know, it's almost 20 years old as far as the design goes, but it's still a very relative motorcycle if you ask me. You know, if you think about it, there's not a whole lot of companies that have, you know, challenged the supermoto that is the DRZ400SM. And that's why this bike is still able to be relevant and honestly a very popular and fun bike. Before purchasing this bike, I was looking at the KLX 300 dual sport in the camo because that was a cool bike. Still is a cool bike. But I was also looking at the CRF 300L, the CRF 450L, and I love those bikes. The 450L is pretty high strung as far as maintenance goes, so that was kind of a downside for me. But the 300L and the Kawasaki were both pretty good options. The only problem that I had, sorry that my visor wasn't down, hopefully you guys can hear me a little better. The only problem that I had with those bikes is they're a little bit lacking in the power department. I wanted something with a little bit more power, so that's why I ended up not going with those two motorcycles. But I wanted, you know, I love the 300s, and don't get me wrong, they're plenty fast, but for a little bit more highway capabilities, I wanted the 400. And for its price, you know, this is a pretty well-priced bike. Parts are, you know, forever available on this thing. And, you know, so I ended up going with this. And there's definitely going to be a lot of people that give me slack because it is carbureted. And, personally, I do not have any issues with a carburetor. You know, as long as you take care of it, it's going to be just like any other piece of equipment that you own, whether it's mechanical or, you know, anything really. As long as you take care of it, it's going to last you. I've owned a TW200 for a little over a year before I got this bike, and that bike is also carbureted, and I have had no issues with it. Starting it up in cold weather, you just pull out the choke, let it idle for a little bit, and push it back in, and you're ready to ride. And don't get me wrong, there's definitely some benefits with the EFI, with the fuel injection, and you know, obviously those benefits might be a little bit more fuel economy, a little better power potentially. And modding the bike, you don't have to worry about jets or anything like that. But you know, that is totally fine. I have no problem with fuel injection, but this bike was carbureted, and you know, just because it was carbureted, it didn't stop me. So, but anyway, I'm enjoying this bike so far. It's got a little bit oomph to it. You know, it's not Ducati Monster 1200S, but it's got plenty of power to get up and go. And just try shifting for that magical 6th gear. So one thing that will probably end up being a little bit annoying is that this bike does not have 6 gears. I have dealt with that with the TW200, and that's not an issue for me. But it's something that you kind of got to get used to, because you'll be shifting and all of a sudden you'll be trying to shift and there's no more gears. So just a little something to get used to, but not the end of the world. And I'm actually feeling a little bit of raindrops. I didn't expect the weather to be rainy today, but hopefully we'll be able to ride this thing, because I did just get it. And you know, if you're anything like me, you are going to want to ride your brand new baby. Man, this thing is fun. It's pretty nimble. This thing is going to be a blast riding to work, and you know, commuting in downtown Stanford, which is the city that is right next to me, that's going to be a lot of fun, you know, taking this thing to restaurants with the girlfriend and stuff like that. So I'm pretty excited. So I basically just did a big loop because I want to go back to this parking lot over here by the golf course and do a little walk around for you guys. I'll probably post a separate walk around video, but I like including as much as I can in my first ride. Definitely gives you the dirt bike vibe with these big, you know, flared out fenders. It's light and thin stature, so pretty excited. There was some spots there. All right, so we'll pull in. One thing I'm noticing that a lot of people had not necessarily complained about, but they had brought up in other reviews that I've watched on this bike, is the indicator light here on the dash is really bright. I don't know why that is. It's not a bad thing, but I can imagine that during nighttime it might get a little bit annoying. All right, we'll pull over here real quick and do a little walk around. We're in neutral. Okay. Definitely taller, you know, it's a little taller, something to get used to. But you know, as soon as I sit, like I'm standing right now, as soon as I sit, I don't know if you can see that, but the bike sags. It's got 11 inches of travel of both front and rear. I don't remember the exact numbers, but I'll make sure to leave them somewhere up over here. But the suspension is fully adjustable, so I might want to mess with that at some point just to get the best possible riding comfort for my height and weight. But let's hop off this girl. Put the pretty long kickstand down. I'm a size 12 boot and it takes up the whole thing. I'm weirdly observant like that. All right, we'll shut her off, let her rest for a minute, and let's do a little walk around. So it comes with halogen blinkers and halogen headlight. Definitely something I'm going to be changing. Like I said in my first video when I picked this bike up, there are a lot of modifications to come with this thing. DRZs are really known for their community as far as modding, and parts are relatively inexpensive, so I am pretty excited to get my hands on this thing and kind of make it my own, make it custom, and yeah. Got that aluminum swing arm. It's like brushed aluminum. It looks really nice. Gonna be getting rid of this thing, don't you worry. I have a TST Industries LED taillight kit ready, and that's gonna be going. Heck yeah, man, on his nice Vespa, I believe. So we'll move around here. I'm gonna be removing this. I kind of want to strip it down to the lightest possible thing I can make it. Not that it's heavy, but I want it to be as light as possible. So I'll be taking the toolkit off. I might be taking the passenger pegs off, changing the mirrors. So a lot of things coming for this bike. I'm really excited. As you can tell, here is the carburetor. You have your fuel petcock, your carburetor choke, which is right here. Pretty simple. It's 398 cc's. It's liquid cooled. Bike's been around forever. It's got a 5-speed transmission. Some people hate that. I really don't care. I try not to be that picky. It's still a beautiful bike. It's still brand new, you know. It's not like this is 20 years old. This is still a new component, you know. And sometimes older technology is nice, you know. You don't always need this super high-end stuff. You know, trust me, guys, I have a 2020 Ducati Monster 1200S, and believe me, that thing has all the bells and whistles you could ever imagine. You know, Olin suspension. It's got Brembo brakes, like the biggest brakes they come with. It has a TFT display. You know, it's got all the bells and whistles, you know, wheelie control, traction control, Bosch cornering ABS. But sometimes, and especially in my opinion for a commuting bike, less is actually more. And I didn't know that at first. I always wanted fast, fast, fast. I started out on a Grom. I got rid of that pretty quickly. I had it for like 700 miles, but I needed something faster, And I have the Ducati, and don't get me wrong, it's a blast to ride, but there is something to be said about riding a not slow bike. This is definitely not a slow bike, but something that's a little more simple, a little more reliable, and something that's not so high strung, I guess is the words that I'm going for. A really great motovlogger that has a lot of good like life and life advice as well as motorcycle advice is Cycle Cruiser. I am a big fan of his channel, and you know, if he's watching this video, he probably would tell you he doesn't like the DRZ that much because it's carbureted, but he has mentioned this bike before. But man, this thing looks pretty sharp, not gonna lie. It's old, but I think it looks great. I'm definitely gonna be removing stuff like this, you know, things we don't need on the bike here in where I live. At some point, I will probably be doing power mods, but for now, this is plenty fast, so those will come in the future. And we'll take a quick look at the dash again. This is something I'm going to have to get used to. Hop on the bike. And once again, I'm 5'9", and here is my flat footing. I don't know if you guys can see it, but I'm flat footing on both sides. You know, I might have to tippy-toe it on uneven surfaces, but in a flat parking lot like this, this bike is perfect. Don't be afraid to not get a bike just because of its height. You know, if there's a bike that you have your heart set on, then by all means get it. I'm not the tallest guy in the world. I'm also not the shortest, but you know, at 5'9", there's certainly some bikes that might seem a little challenging for me, but this fits me totally fine. So anyway, enough with the blah, blah, blah. Let's talk about the dash a little bit. Got your trip A. You have another trip function here if you want. I'm not too familiar on the dash, but your miles per hour, your clock, you have your total miles, and then if you click here, I think you can cycle through. So there's your trip B, trip A, and total, and then you can get to your clock and stuff like that. All right, guys, well, I think I'm going to end my first ride here today. I'm going to do some more break-in miles on the beautiful DRZ400SM, but don't you worry, there are a lot more videos to come. So if you like this bike, if you maybe like me, you know, please consider subscribing. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, I try and answer all the comments that I can. You can also reach out to me on Instagram at MostroMoto. You're going to be seeing a lot of pictures of this bike on there. So if it's something you like, stay tuned, subscribe, like the video, and I will see you next time. Ride safe.